The harsh and biting wind of the post-apocalyptic wasteland swept across the broken remains of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The grand city, once known for its bustling downtown and vibrant Amish communities, had been reduced to a desolate, twisted shell. Our hero, Johnny Vanjuk, a former scavenger with a heart hardened by the relentless adversities of the New World, scanned the horizon from the crumbling tower of the Central Market. His intense, hawk-like eyes observed the shattered remains of the world he once knew. Johnny, with his trusty .44 Magnum at his hip and a ragged duffel bag filled with supplies, descended the tower. His worn leather boots kicked up dust as he moved through the market square, now occupied by a small community of survivors who had gathered in this once iconic historic district. The survivors, a mix of civilians and former military personnel, had fortified the market square, the limestone structures of the old city buildings providing some semblance of protection against the chaos outside. For years, Johnny had been a lone wanderer, traversing the desolate landscape in search of the scarce resources necessary for survival. But the allure of community, of having a place to call home, was too strong to resist. He had joined the Lancaster settlement a few weeks ago, providing his skills as a seasoned scavenger and an adept fighter. However, tranquility was a luxury that didn't last long in the New World. The safety of the Lancaster settlement was threatened by the impending danger of a warlord named Scar, who had ravaged the nearby towns with his vicious raider gang. As Johnny walked through the settlement, he saw the fear and uncertainty in people's eyes. Scar's influence was creeping closer every day, the echo of his destruction a constant reminder. A council meeting was held at the Fulton Opera House, which had been repurposed into a town hall. The settlers looked towards Johnny, hoping his experience and leadership could help fend off the looming menace. Johnny, after much deliberation, decided on a preemptive strike on Scar's fortress, an imposing stronghold fortified within the ruins of the Franklin and Marshall College. With a small but fierce team of volunteers, Johnny ventured out into the dangerous wasteland. The journey was treacherous. They encountered mutant beasts and rival raider gangs. The landscape had become a bizarre, twisted version of its former self due to the radiation, forcing them to navigate through an alien terrain. Johnny's leadership and combat skills were tested at every turn, further solidifying his reputation as a formidable survivor. The ruins of the college loomed in front of them. The once proud institution of knowledge had been transformed into a den of anarchy. Using their wits and guile, they infiltrated the stronghold, fighting through Scar's henchmen with fierce determination. The climactic confrontation took place in the old main building, with Johnny facing Scar in a grueling battle of strength and will. Each blow was a testament to their survival, a testament to their existence in this shattered world. In the end, Johnny emerged victorious. Scar, the terror that had haunted the lands, was defeated. With Scar's demise, a wave of relief washed over the Lancaster settlement. They had fought for their survival and emerged triumphant. Yet, this was just one battle in the unforgiving world of Fallout. There were other settlements to save, other warlords to defeat. Johnny Vanjuk, with newfound resolve, prepared to venture once more into the wasteland. His fight was far from over, but he had given the people of Lancaster something precious in the bleak world: hope. He was not just a survivor anymore. He was a beacon of hope in the post-apocalyptic landscape of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and his legend was only beginning. News of Johnny's triumph against Scar had spread like wildfire across the ravaged lands, reaching settlements far and wide. Survivors started to see a glimmer of hope in the desolate wasteland that the world had become. With the confidence born out of their victory, the people of Lancaster started to rebuild their city, brick by brick, soul by soul. Johnny, with his ever-present .44 Magnum, found himself a revered figure in the community. The rebuilding process was not easy, but Johnny's spirit of survival infused the people with renewed vigor. Day by day, they strengthened their defenses, established sustainable food and water supplies, and rekindled the sense of community that had been lost in the fallout. However, not far from the borders of the reviving Lancaster, another threat loomed in the shadows. A band of technologically advanced mercenaries known as the Iron Crows had been taking note of the city's rebirth. Operating from the Lancaster Science Factory, they had converted the former educational center into a formidable fortress of steel and weaponry. They had managed to salvage and repurpose old-world technology, becoming a formidable force in the wasteland. When news of the Iron Crow's interest in Lancaster reached Johnny, he knew he couldn't sit idle. His experiences with Scar had taught him the value of taking action before the storm hit. He rallied a group of the settlement's best fighters, who had been training under him, and set off towards the stronghold of the Iron Crows. Using the cover of a particularly harsh radstorm, they approached the Lancaster Science Factory. It stood imposing, cold, and metallic against the dark sky. The Iron Crows had weaponized the tools of the old world, and they wouldn't hesitate to employ them against anyone they perceived as a threat. Relying on stealth, Johnny and his team infiltrated the facility. They navigated through the building, coming face to face with the chilling mix of technology and devastation. The Iron Crows had been working on an old-world nuclear missile, intending to use it to establish their dominance over the wasteland. At the heart of the facility, they found the leader of the Iron Crows, a towering figure called Steelhawk. Encased entirely in a power armor suit, Steelhawk was a formidable enemy. Johnny drew his .44 Magnum, his grip steady despite the magnitude of the danger before him. The showdown was intense. Bullets ricocheted off the steel walls of the factory, lighting up the darkness with sparks. The other members of Johnny's team engaged with the mercenaries while he dueled with Steelhawk. After a grueling fight, Johnny managed to exploit a weakness in Steelhawk's power armor, landing a fatal shot. With Steelhawk's fall, the Iron Crows scattered, their unity shattered. Johnny and his team managed to disarm the nuclear missile, averting a disaster that could have reduced Lancaster to rubble again. With the new victory, the legend of Johnny Vanjik grew. His heroics echoed across the wasteland, inspiring survivors and kindling a fire of hope. He had defended Lancaster from the Iron Crows and once more ensured the safety of his people. But Johnny knew that as long as the fallout endured, threats would continue to emerge, and he would face them head-on, for he was now the guardian of Lancaster, the beacon of hope in a world emerging from nuclear shadows. As Johnny Vanjik's legend grew, the city of Lancaster began to thrive. It became a sanctuary amidst the unforgiving landscape of the wasteland. Despite the scars of war and the harsh reality of the new world, it was home to those who dared to hope, to dream, to survive. The central market had been fully restored and repurposed as a bustling hub for trade and commerce. Its history, going back centuries, was now mixed with the post-apocalyptic essence of the new world. Traders from across the wasteland came to sell and exchange goods, bringing news, stories, and a sense of normalcy that was cherished by the community. The Hager Arcade, once a testament to Lancaster's past architectural brilliance, now served as a refuge for survivors. Its labyrinthine corridors and spacious halls housed families and weary travelers, offering them a safe place to rest. The buildings and streets were adorned with murals and memorials to the fallen, painted by the city's children and artists who refused to let the colors of life fade away. They served as a reminder of the city's past and the resilient spirit of its people. Education was not forgotten. The survivors had turned the empty shell of Lancaster Public Library into a school. Knowledge of the old world was imparted alongside the skills required to survive in the new world. Children learned to read and write, but also to scavenge, build, and defend. The sound of their laughter echoed through the city, a symbol of resilience and hope. Lancaster's Amish community had adapted to the new world in their own unique way, holding on to their tradition of simple living and hard work. They transformed the fields of Lancaster County Park into fertile farmland, growing crops that helped sustain the community. Their horse-drawn buggies, a sight from a simpler time, were a comforting presence in the otherwise harsh cityscape. The city also worked to commemorate its pre-war past, keeping the flame of history alive. Museums were set up in the old world buildings, showcasing relics from a time before the fallout. The Thaddeus Stevens and Lydia Hamilton Smith Historic Site became a symbol of the city's resilience, its ruins converted into a shrine for the lost world. Through all the challenges and changes, Lancaster held its spirit high. The people stood united, the sense of community stronger than ever. They celebrated their victories, mourned their losses, and supported each other through the darkest days. Lancaster was more than a settlement, it was a beacon of hope, of humanity, shining bright amidst the desolation of the wasteland. However, the city knew the value of vigilance. Fortifications were strengthened, watchtowers were built, and every citizen was trained to defend their home. For they were aware that the world outside was still a dangerous, unpredictable place. Under the watchful gaze of the statue of Robert Fulton at Fulton Opera House, now a symbol of their unyielding spirit, they stood ready, hopeful, and unbroken. The city of Lancaster, reborn from the ashes of the old world, was a testament to humanity's will to survive and thrive. Its tale was far from over. In the heart of the city, a grand project had begun, the restoration of the Lancaster County Courthouse. The once majestic structure had been severely damaged in the fallout, its clock tower crumbling, its grand halls desolate. But the people saw it as a symbol of justice, of order, and of a time before the chaos. It was a monumental task that required every helping hand, but it was a labor of love, and a symbol of their resolve. Meanwhile, the Pennsylvania Dutch community worked on constructing a large windmill at the outskirts of the city. They planned to harness the wind energy to power the city's budding infrastructure and reduce their dependence on scavenged fuels. This blend of the old world's technology with the traditional skills of the Amish was a unique sight that filled everyone's heart with pride and hope. In the heart of Lancaster's downtown, the North Museum of Nature and Science, once a place of exploration and learning for curious minds, had been repurposed into a hub of scientific innovation. Here, researchers scavenged for old-world technology and experimented with new inventions to adapt and survive in the harsh post-apocalyptic environment. They worked tirelessly on projects that ranged from purifying water to developing new methods of farming in the irradiated soil. Trade and communication with other settlements had become crucial for the city's survival. To facilitate this, the former Lancaster train station had been transformed into a caravan outpost. Travelers and traders from across the wasteland stopped here, their caravans carrying goods, news, and sometimes, warnings of the threats lurking outside. The outpost was a bustling hub, a mix of caution and cheerfulness, mirroring the spirit of Lancaster. The city's spiritual needs were not neglected either. The historic St. Mary's Church, one of the oldest Catholic churches in the state, had been restored. Regardless of their faith or beliefs, the citizens gathered here, seeking solace, strength, and a sense of unity. The sound of the church bell ringing out into the quiet evenings served as a gentle reminder of peace amidst the usual cacophony of survival. Even the nightlife had found its way back into the city. The Chameleon Club, a popular music venue before the war, was now a gathering place for the community to relax and unwind. Although it was not quite the same, the melodies floating from the battered stage, often accompanied by tales of bravery and hope, were a much-needed respite from the harsh realities of the day. Despite the numerous challenges and the looming uncertainty of tomorrow, the city of Lancaster thrived. The survivors had breathed life back into its desolate landscape, its very fabric interwoven with their resilience, hope, and an unyielding will to survive. Every restored building, every successful crop, every piece of music that filled the air was a testament to their courage and determination. Yet, the people of Lancaster understood their city was a sanctuary in a world still filled with danger. Their continued survival hinged on the balance they maintained between growth and vigilance. Each new day was a gift, and they greeted it with gratitude, resilience, and a steadfast hope for a better tomorrow. Amidst the wreckage of the past and the promise of the future, Lancaster stood as a beacon of humanity's perseverance and an ongoing story of triumph over adversity. As the city of Lancaster started to bloom amidst the devastation, news reached Johnny Vanchuk of another settlement that was thriving not far from Lancaster. This was Millersville, once known for the Millersville University, a major hub of education in Pennsylvania. Now, it had grown into a powerful post-apocalyptic settlement, its proximity to Lancaster forging an inevitable connection between the two. Millersville had built its strength around the remnants of the university. The main university buildings had been transformed into a fortress, surrounded by high, imposing walls made from scavenged materials. It was a remarkable feat of engineering, showing the innovative minds at work within the settlement. The governing force of Millersville was known as the University Council, made up of the elders and experienced survivors. The council had its seat in the Beamsterfer Executive Center, the former administrative building of the university, which had been transformed into a sort of town hall for the new world. They prided themselves on their democratic process, with each major decision being voted on by the settlement's citizens. However, there were stark differences in how the two settlements had chosen to evolve. Where Lancaster focused on a blend of communal living and old-world simplicity, Millersville was centered on the preservation and evolution of technology. They had salvaged and repurposed a significant amount of pre-war tech, and their people lived a more structured, rigid lifestyle. Millersville's approach to survival in the wasteland had been pragmatic and disciplined. They had structured their settlement much like a military unit, with each citizen trained and prepared for combat. While this provided security, it also fostered a sense of superiority, which began to sow seeds of conflict with Lancaster. As news and rumors of Millersville's growing power reached Lancaster, anxiety and fear started to spread. There were whispers of Millersville's ambition to control the entire Lancaster County, to bring all settlements under their stern rule. While these rumors were yet unconfirmed, they were enough to send ripples of worry through Lancaster's community. Johnny Vanjuk, the guardian of Lancaster, felt the growing tension. He understood that peace in the wasteland was a delicate thing, always on the brink of shattering. His experiences had taught him the cost of underestimating threats. And so, with a heavy heart, he started preparing for the looming confrontation. While the people of Lancaster carried on with their lives, enjoying the fruits of their hard work, the leaders and protectors knew that a storm was brewing on the horizon. The tale of Lancaster and its people was about to take a significant turn, adding yet another layer to their story of survival and resilience. The emerging rivalry with Millersville threatened to upset the balance they had so painstakingly built, but they stood ready, their spirit unbroken, their determination unfazed. For they were the people of Lancaster, the beacon of hope in the wasteland, and they would not go down without a fight. Johnny Vanjuk knew that communication was the first step towards avoiding a conflict. He proposed a meeting with the University Council of Millersville. He wanted to discuss the rumors, to clear misunderstandings, and to ensure peace between the settlements. The council accepted Johnny's proposal, and a date was set. The meeting was to take place at the former Millersville University, which had served as a neutral ground for many peace talks before the fallout. It was a place that held symbolic significance for both settlements, a monument to the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. The day of the meeting arrived. Johnny and his chosen delegation from Lancaster set off for Millersville. Upon their arrival, they were met with a sight that left them in awe. The settlement had made remarkable progress in their use of old-world technology. Solar panels adorned the buildings, and wind turbines whirred in the distance. Millersville had become a powerhouse of innovation. However, it was also a heavily fortified settlement. Guards in well-maintained power armor patrolled the perimeter, their weapons drawing an intimidating silhouette against the setting sun. Despite the technological marvels, an air of palpable tension hung over Millersville. Johnny met with the University Council in the Beamsterfer Executive Center. The council was a group of stern individuals who valued discipline and order above all else. As Johnny spoke of unity and cooperation between the two settlements, he could see skepticism on their faces. The rumors, it seemed, had not been entirely baseless. The council believed in their idea of a new order. They viewed their disciplined and militaristic lifestyle as the only way to ensure survival in the post-apocalyptic world. While they acknowledged Lancaster's progress, they considered Lancaster's focus on rebuilding culture and community as frivolous. They proposed that Lancaster should fall under the governance of Millersville, adopting their militaristic approach. Johnny, ever the defender of Lancaster's spirit, firmly yet respectfully, declined their proposal. He argued that the strength of a community lay in its people and their will, not just in their weapons. He said that Lancaster would not give up its sense of identity, but he proposed a mutual agreement of non-aggression and cooperation. The council agreed to the non-aggression pact but remained aloof towards the idea of cooperation. As Johnny and his delegation left Millersville, they knew that while they had temporarily avoided a conflict, the tension between the two settlements was far from resolved. Upon their return, Johnny shared the news with the citizens of Lancaster. The city breathed a sigh of relief, but they knew they had to stay vigilant. Life in Lancaster went on, with everyone contributing to the growth of the city, holding on to the hope and unity that defined them. And so, Lancaster and Millersville coexisted, a palpable tension looming between them. The rival settlement's shadow was a constant reminder of the threat that could shatter the peace they had managed to maintain. But the people of Lancaster continued to live, love, and build, a testament to their resilience. For in this new world, they understood that survival was not just about existing, but about preserving the essence of what makes us human. Their story was one of endurance, courage, and the undying hope that lit their way in the darkest of times. The rumblings of power armor could be heard before they were seen, the sound echoing ominously through the streets of Lancaster. From the horizon, a force appeared, clad in the distinctive T-60 power armor. The sunlight bounced off their metal suits, casting long shadows across the city. They bore the symbol of gears and a sword, the insignia of the Brotherhood of Steel. News of the Brotherhood's arrival spread through Lancaster like wildfire. They were known across the wasteland, a militaristic order dedicated to the acquisition and preservation of technology. Stories of their deeds, both admirable and controversial, were common among the survivors. For some, they were a symbol of hope, a remnant of the old world order. For others, they were a threat, hoarding resources and dictating terms based on their superior firepower. The leader of the squad, a paladin by rank, approached the city center. Removing his helmet, he revealed a weathered face marked with scars, a testament to the countless battles he had survived. He introduced himself as Paladin Nathaniel and asked to speak with the leader of Lancaster. Johnny Vanjik stepped forward, meeting the paladin's gaze with his own determined stare. Paladin Nathaniel explained that the Brotherhood of Steel had set their sights on the technology accumulated by Millersville. Their creed was to secure advanced technology, to prevent it from causing another apocalypse. However, he assured Johnny that they had no intention of disturbing the peace in Lancaster, as long as the city didn't interfere with the Brotherhood's mission. This assurance did little to ease Johnny's worry. The arrival of the Brotherhood had brought a new level of complexity to the already strained relations between Lancaster and Millersville. If a confrontation broke out between the Brotherhood and Millersville, Lancaster could be caught in the crossfire. After the Brotherhood of Steel set up camp at the outskirts of Lancaster, Johnny held a meeting with the city's council. The citizens were understandably anxious. Johnny knew he had to tread carefully, to protect his city without sparking a war. He decided to send a message to the University Council in Millersville, warning them of the Brotherhood's intentions and suggesting they negotiate rather than fight. In the following days, the city of Lancaster held its breath, watching as the Brotherhood's vertibirds flew overhead, casting ominous shadows over their hard-earned peace. The Brotherhood, for their part, remained at the outskirts, neither disrupting life in Lancaster nor making any aggressive moves towards Millersville. Yet, their presence was a grim reminder of the uncertainty of life in the wasteland. As the tension grew, Johnny Vanjik stood tall, a beacon of hope and resilience for the people of Lancaster. He knew that they would face whatever came their way, together, just as they always had. For this was their story, a tale of courage, survival, and the indomitable human spirit in a world forever changed by the fallout. And this tale was far from over. The message Johnny sent to Millersville was met with a curt response. The University Council maintained that they had the right to defend their settlement and technology. They viewed the Brotherhood's interest as a threat and made it clear that they were ready to fight if necessary. Back in Lancaster, this news was met with a sense of impending doom. The possibility of a battle on their doorstep threatened everything they had worked for. Johnny knew he had to do something to prevent the upcoming conflict. His mind raced for a solution, and then it struck him: the old world diplomacy had to make way for the new world's unique challenges. He decided to call a summit, a meeting with representatives from Lancaster, Millersville, and the Brotherhood of Steel. The idea was to discuss their concerns openly and negotiate a settlement that would be in everyone's best interest. It was a long shot, but it was worth trying. The summit was held at the Lancaster County Courthouse, a neutral ground chosen for its symbolic significance. Representing Lancaster was Johnny Vanjik, the Brotherhood sent Paladin Nathaniel, and the University Council sent their leader, an imposing woman known as Chancellor Eva. The summit began with each party expressing their concerns. Johnny reiterated the importance of maintaining peace and proposed a shared control over Millersville's technology. Paladin Nathaniel insisted on the Brotherhood's role in safeguarding technology and preventing another catastrophe. Chancellor Eva, meanwhile, stressed the importance of Millersville's autonomy and their right to defend their settlement. The negotiations were heated and seemed to be going nowhere until Johnny proposed a radical idea. He suggested that Millersville's technology could be shared with the Brotherhood under a new alliance's watchful eye. This alliance would consist of representatives from both Lancaster and Millersville. This way, the Brotherhood could monitor the use of the technology, and Millersville would not have to relinquish their autonomy. After much deliberation, this idea was accepted with reluctant approval. It was a compromise, far from perfect, but it served to de-escalate the tension. The summit ended with a pact signed by Johnny, Paladin Nathaniel, and Chancellor Eva, marking the formation of the Lancaster-Millersville alliance, with the Brotherhood as a monitoring entity. News of the pact brought a wave of relief over Lancaster. Celebrations erupted in the city, the people rejoicing at the promise of continued peace. The Brotherhood of Steel, for their part, maintained a watchful presence, their vertibirds continuing to patrol the skies but causing less anxiety among the populace. In the aftermath of the summit, life in Lancaster slowly returned to normal. People went back to their daily routines, their spirits buoyed by the newfound peace. However, the leaders knew that this peace was delicate, constantly threatened by the chaotic world outside their walls. But for now, they had achieved a victory, a testament to their resilience, hope, and the power of diplomacy in the face of adversity. And so, the story of Lancaster continued, a tale of survival and unity amidst a post-apocalyptic world. It was a story of ordinary people standing tall in the face of extraordinary challenges, their spirit unbroken, their determination unwavering. It was a story that echoed across the wasteland, a beacon of hope for all survivors. And at its heart was Johnny Vanjuk, the guardian of Lancaster, a symbol of their relentless hope and resilience. Following the pact signed at the summit, a sense of cooperation began to gradually build between the Brotherhood of Steel and Millersville. The shared control over Millersville's technology led to discussions about utilizing it for the greater good. And out of these discussions emerged an ambitious plan, to purify the local rivers of radiation. The Conestoga River, once a life-giving force for Lancaster and its surrounding areas, had been tainted by the nuclear fallout. The irradiated river served as a stark reminder of the world that was lost, rendering its water unfit for consumption or irrigation. The idea of restoring it to its pre-war state was a beacon of hope, a chance to reclaim a piece of the past. The project was named Operation Clearwater, and it became the first major joint undertaking of the new Lancaster-Millersville alliance, under the watchful eye of the Brotherhood. The initiative aimed to design and build a water purification system capable of neutralizing the radiation in the water, using a combination of old-world technology salvaged by Millersville and the technological expertise of the Brotherhood. Work on Operation Clearwater started with a sense of optimism. Brotherhood scribes began collaborating with Millersville's engineers, pooling their knowledge to make this dream a reality. The Brotherhood's advanced tech complemented Millersville's ingenuity. Paladin Nathaniel oversaw the entire project, ensuring the Brotherhood's principles were upheld, while Johnny Vanjuk acted as the mediator, smoothing over any conflicts and keeping the focus on their common goal. As word of Operation Clearwater spread, it brought a renewed sense of hope among the people of Lancaster and Millersville. The prospect of clean water, something many had not known since before the war, was a powerful symbol of the progress they were making in this new world. Weeks turned into months, and the project began to take shape. A massive purifier was constructed on the banks of the Conestoga River. This marvel of engineering, a symbol of cooperation and shared goals, towered over the river, ready to breathe new life into its irradiated waters. Finally, the day arrived when the purifier was activated. A tense silence fell over the gathered crowd as the machine whirred to life. Slowly, the polluted water was drawn into the purifier, going through a complex process of filtration and radiation neutralization, and emerged on the other side clear and clean. The success of Operation Clearwater was celebrated with immense joy. The purified water was a lifeline, offering security and sustainability. It was a testament to what they could achieve together, a beacon of unity and cooperation in a world often divided by survival. The triumph of Operation Clearwater marked a milestone in the tale of Lancaster, a tale woven with threads of resilience, unity, and relentless hope. With Johnny Vanjuk at its heart, the story continued to evolve, its chapters filled with trials, triumphs, and the indomitable spirit of humanity surviving against all odds. The world may have been shattered by the fallout, but the spark of hope, perseverance, and unity continued to burn bright, lighting their path in the darkest of times. As Lancaster and Millersville were basking in the success of Operation Clearwater, a new challenge emerged on the horizon. Columbia, a settlement to the northwest of Lancaster along the banks of the Susquehanna River, revealed itself as a formidable and hostile power. Columbia had always been a bit of a mystery to the other settlements. It was known that the town had managed to survive in the aftermath of the fallout, but its isolationist policies had made it difficult to gauge its actual strength. Now, as its representatives marched into Lancaster, their intentions were made clear. They sought to control the newly purified waters of the Conestoga River. Their leader, a man called Alderman Rourke, was a charismatic figure with a persuasive tongue. His logic was simple: Columbia had been denied its share of the region's resources for too long, and now it was time to claim what they saw as rightfully theirs. He claimed the purification of the Conestoga River as a change in the status quo and demanded an equal share in the clean water supply. Johnny Vandyck understood the gravity of the situation. He saw that Columbia's isolation had made it unpredictable and potentially dangerous. However, he also knew that declaring outright hostility would lead to unnecessary bloodshed. He proposed a compromise, to extend the Lancaster-Millersville alliance to include Columbia, sharing the benefits of the purified river while also working together for mutual survival. Alderman Rourke, however, scoffed at the idea. He saw alliances as a means for the strong to dominate the weak. He made it clear that Columbia would not join any alliance and instead would fight for its right to the water. With a cold finality, the representatives from Columbia left Lancaster, leaving a palpable tension in their wake. Johnny Vandyck knew that the peace they had so hard earned was once again under threat. However, he was determined to avoid open conflict. In the days that followed, Lancaster and Millersville prepared for the potential threat, all the while maintaining a diplomatic channel with Columbia. The Brotherhood of Steel, still present and observing the unfolding situation, remained neutral, aligning with their policy of non-interference unless technology was at stake. Columbia, now an active player in the region's dynamics, kept to its aggressive stance but stopped short of instigating a war. Their patrols were seen near the Conestoga River, a constant reminder of their claims. In this complex scenario, Johnny Vandyck held Lancaster together, his resolve a pillar of strength for the people. He knew the road ahead was treacherous, but he was ready to walk it, for the sake of his city, his people, and the delicate peace they had woven. Thus, the story of Lancaster continued, now more intricate than ever before. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities for diplomacy, survival, and unity. Johnny Vandyck remained at the heart of it all, guiding his city through every twist and turn. Their tale was a testament to the indomitable human spirit, lighting up the post-apocalyptic world with its resilience, courage, and unyielding hope. The Brotherhood of Steel had always been a source of news from far-off places, and one day, a new rumor began to circulate. Whispers of a formidable faction known as the Enclave began to echo through the halls of the Brotherhood's makeshift base on the outskirts of Lancaster. These whispers caught Johnny Vandyck's attention. Johnny Vandyck had heard many tales of distant factions and settlements from traveling merchants and settlers, but the Enclave was a name he had not come across before. Seeking more information, he approached Paladin Nathaniel. The Paladin, usually reserved and somewhat aloof, seemed grave as he explained the significance of the Enclave. The Enclave, Nathaniel explained, claimed to be the rightful continuation of the United States government, a relic from before the war. Their motives and methods, however, were far from noble. They sought control, dominance, and had a history of viewing the average wasteland survivors as lesser beings, unworthy of a place in their new world order. This revelation worried Johnny. He knew that if the Enclave turned their sights on Lancaster County, it could bring a storm of troubles. However, Nathaniel reassured him that the rumors were just that, rumors. There was no concrete evidence to suggest the Enclave had any interest in their corner of the wasteland. Despite this reassurance, Johnny couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. He decided to prepare his city for any potential threat, not wanting to be caught off guard. Lancaster had already faced its fair share of challenges, and he was determined to keep his people safe, whatever it took. In the weeks that followed, life in Lancaster carried on, albeit tinged with a hint of anxiety. Rumors of the Enclave spread beyond the Brotherhood, stirring a mix of fear and intrigue among the populace. The name became another ghost story, a dark tale whispered around the flickering fires in the cool wasteland nights. Meanwhile, Columbia maintained its hostile stance, their patrols becoming a common sight around the Conestoga River. The Lancaster-Millersville alliance kept a vigilant watch, prepared for any potential conflict but hoping for a peaceful resolution. Through all this, Johnny Vanjuk remained steadfast, his resolve stronger than ever. He knew the challenges ahead were formidable, but he had faith in his city, in his people. Their tale was far from over. With the rumors of the Enclave casting a long shadow and the constant threat of Columbia looming, their story was poised to dive into a deeper complexity, reflecting the ever-changing nature of life in the post-apocalyptic world. But Johnny was ready, standing tall at the helm, guiding Lancaster through the uncertainty towards a future of hope and survival. As the weeks passed, the rumors about the Enclave grew stronger. Whispers turned into solid reports, coming from the Brotherhood's far-ranging scouts and independent wasteland wanderers. They told of an alarming development: the Enclave had established a presence in the region, and what's more, they had made contact with Columbia. This news shook the very foundation of the fragile peace in Lancaster County. Columbia, already seen as a potential threat, had now aligned itself with a faction known for its nefarious intentions. The Enclave's sophisticated pre-war technology and military prowess, combined with Columbia's strategic location and hostility towards Lancaster and Millersville, formed a daunting alliance. Alderman Rourke saw in the Enclave an opportunity to gain an upper hand against Lancaster and Millersville. The Enclave, for its part, saw in Columbia a foothold in the region, a chance to extend their influence and control. Faced with this escalating situation, Johnny Vanjuk knew he had to act. His initial hope was for diplomacy, but the Enclave's reputation and Columbia's newfound hostility made this unlikely. However, he was not ready to resort to outright war. He proposed a strategy of defensive preparation and intelligence gathering. Lancaster and Millersville would fortify their settlements and keep a close watch on the activities of the Enclave and Columbia. They would prepare for any potential conflict but would also strive to learn as much as possible about their new adversaries. The Brotherhood of Steel, despite their traditional stance of non-interference, found themselves drawn into the situation due to their historical enmity with the Enclave. Paladin Nathaniel offered the Brotherhood's assistance in preparing defenses and gathering intelligence, recognizing the threat the Enclave posed. In the days that followed, Lancaster and Millersville worked tirelessly. Their walls were fortified, weapons were checked and rechecked, and scouts were sent out to monitor the Enclave-Columbia alliance. The Brotherhood's vertibirds became a more common sight in the skies, their patrols stepping up in response to the looming threat. The citizens of Lancaster, faced with yet another challenge, rallied around Johnny Vanjuk's leadership. They worked hand in hand with their neighbors in Millersville, their cooperation a shining beacon of unity in the face of adversity. The impending threat did not dampen their spirit, but rather, steeled their resolve to protect their hard-earned peace and freedom. The tale of Lancaster, now intertwined with that of the Enclave and Columbia, continued to evolve. A storm was brewing on the horizon, but Johnny Vanjuk was ready to steer his city through it. He stood resolute, a beacon of hope and determination in a world of uncertainty, guiding Lancaster forward one day at a time, towards a future they were ready to fight for. As the tension between Lancaster, Millersville, and the Enclave-Columbia alliance escalated, another group emerged onto the scene, the Brotherhood Outcasts. These were members of the Brotherhood of Steel who had chosen to break away, believing that the original mission of the Brotherhood, to collect and preserve technology, had been diluted and distorted. The Outcasts, led by a tough and pragmatic elder named Gregory, saw opportunity in the strained dynamics of Lancaster County. They set up base in the ruins of Penn Manor High School in Millersville, using its relatively intact structure to build a stronghold. The school's isolated location and existing infrastructure made it an ideal spot for a base, allowing them to establish a formidable presence. Their arrival did not go unnoticed. The Brotherhood of Steel, despite their differences with the Outcasts, recognized their former brother's symbol and tried to establish communication. Paladin Nathaniel, the Brotherhood's leader in the region, hoped that despite their differences, a common ground could be found given the looming threat from the Enclave and Columbia. Johnny Vanjuk, ever the mediator, also saw a potential ally in the outcasts. He reached out to Elder Gregory, hoping to open a dialogue and perhaps form a united front against the encroaching danger. Gregory, while suspicious of Johnny and his ties with the Brotherhood, agreed to meet. The conversation was tense, with both parties acutely aware of the potential risks and rewards of an alliance. Gregory made it clear that the outcasts would not be pawns in anyone's game. They sought technology, not power or dominance. Johnny, in turn, assured them that Lancaster and Millersville shared no interest in controlling the outcasts, only a common goal of peace and survival. While no formal agreement was reached during that initial meeting, a channel of communication was opened. The outcasts began to cautiously interact with Lancaster and Millersville, trading goods and occasionally information. News of the outcasts' arrival spread, adding yet another layer to the complex dynamic in Lancaster County. The Enclave and Columbia watched these developments with keen interest, aware that the outcasts could potentially tip the balance of power. Despite the growing complexities and rising tension, life in Lancaster and Millersville carried on. The citizens continued their daily routines, taking comfort in the familiar amidst the uncertain. They stood ready to defend their settlements, their unity stronger than ever. Johnny Vanjuk found himself at the heart of a constantly shifting landscape, trying to navigate the delicate balance of power while keeping his people safe. The tale of Lancaster was far from over. With the Brotherhood, the Outcasts, the Enclave, and Columbia all playing their parts, the story was shaping up to be a saga of survival, alliances, and the indomitable human spirit. As the sun set each day over the post-apocalyptic world, the people of Lancaster looked towards the future with determined resolve, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the days passed, the ever-changing dynamics of Lancaster County continued to evolve. A group of settlers arrived from the southeast, having made a grueling journey from the capital wasteland. They were survivors of the ruins of Washington, D.C., weary but hopeful, seeking a new home away from the constant dangers they had left behind. They found solace in the small town of Lititz, to the north of Lancaster. In the world before, Lititz had been known for its historic buildings and small-town charm. Now, it offered a chance for a fresh start to these newcomers. The town was far enough from the existing power players in the county to offer some safety, yet close enough to Lancaster and Millersville to have potential allies nearby. The leader of this group, a hardened survivor named Miriam, introduced herself to Johnny Vanjuk and the leaders of Millersville. She told tales of their past struggles in the capital wasteland, the horrors they had witnessed, and the hope they sought in this new land. Johnny welcomed them, offering aid and promising to respect their claim on Lititz as long as they remained peaceful. He saw in these settlers a spark of the determination and resilience that had kept Lancaster and Millersville thriving. In return, Miriam and her people agreed to trade and share information, appreciative of the warm reception they had received. News of the new settlers spread throughout Lancaster County. The people of Lancaster and Millersville saw in them a reflection of their own past struggles and welcomed them as part of their wider community. The Brotherhood of Steel, the Outcasts, Columbia, and the Enclave also took notice of the new arrivals. While their reactions varied, it was clear that the settlers of Lititz were now players in the intricate game of survival in the region. Through it all, Johnny Vanjuk stood as a pillar of strength and diplomacy. His leadership brought stability to Lancaster, fostering a sense of community and cooperation amid the uncertainty. The tale of Lancaster, now intertwined with that of Lititz, the capital wasteland, and the numerous factions, continued to unfold. Each sunrise brought new challenges and opportunities, painting a vivid saga of survival, alliances, and the enduring human spirit in the post-apocalyptic world. As Johnny guided his city through the trials and triumphs of each day, the people of Lancaster looked to the future with determination and hope, ready to face whatever came their way. Months turned into years, and the complex web of relations in Lancaster County continued to evolve. Lititz, under Miriam's stern yet caring leadership, slowly transformed into a thriving settlement. The people of Lancaster and Millersville continued their tight-knit alliance, and the ever-present Brotherhood, despite their ideological split, maintained their uneasy coexistence. But the tension between the Enclave-Columbia alliance and the rest of Lancaster County simmered just beneath the surface. There were skirmishes on the borders, occasional standoffs, and heated negotiations, but so far, the situation had not escalated into full-blown conflict. The Enclave, using Columbia as their proxy, often attempted to exert their dominance over the region, sending patrols and conducting shows of force. Meanwhile, Columbia's Alderman Rourke reveled in his newfound power, his ambition inflated by the backing of the Enclave. However, they were always met with the steadfast resistance of the Lancaster-Millersville alliance and the watchful eye of the Brotherhood and outcasts. During these tumultuous times, a surprise development occurred. An old pre-war radio signal began to broadcast, its signal reaching across the county. It was a distress call, originating from an old underground government facility located near Ephrata, another town within the Lancaster region. The message was old, likely set to broadcast when the bombs fell and continuing to loop ever since, but it told of a sealed vault filled with untouched technology and resources. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community. Johnny Vanjuk knew that the discovery of such a resource could tip the balance of power significantly. If the Enclave-Columbia alliance were to secure it, they could become an insurmountable force. However, if he and his allies could claim it, they could secure their community's futures. The race for the vault became the central focus for all factions. The Brotherhood sought the vault for its technological treasures, the outcasts for the same reason, while Lancaster, Millersville, and Lititz saw it as a means to strengthen their defenses and improve their quality of life. The Enclave, backed by Columbia, sought the vault to solidify their power and control in the region. As the race for the vault began, the tale of Lancaster entered a new and critical chapter. The stakes were higher than ever, with the balance of power teetering on a knife edge. Yet, amid the tension and anticipation, the community's spirit was stronger than ever. They had faced trials and tribulations before and come through stronger. Johnny Vanjuk, at the helm, steered his people with the same determination and hope that had seen them through countless challenges. Guided by his leadership, the people of Lancaster readied themselves for what lay ahead, their eyes fixed on the future, their resolve unbroken. In the post-apocalyptic world of Lancaster County, the story continued to unfold, a testament to survival, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of a better tomorrow. As the days turned into weeks, the tension in Lancaster County became unbearable. The discovery of the vault had brought a sense of urgency that couldn't be ignored. Sporadic conflicts flared on the borders between territories, small skirmishes that served as a grim prelude to the impending conflict. Finally, the situation reached a breaking point, and the region plunged into war. The Enclave, in alliance with Columbia, made the first move, launching an offensive towards the vault located near Ephrata. Backed by their advanced pre-war technology and the fanatical zeal of Columbia's forces, they made significant ground, catching the other factions off guard. Johnny Vanjuk, recognizing the gravity of the situation, rallied the forces of Lancaster, Millersville, and Lititz. These settlements, despite their peaceful origins, had prepared for this eventuality. They knew that their survival and the freedom they cherished were on the line. The Brotherhood, though hesitant to engage in a full-scale war, couldn't ignore the threat posed by the Enclave. The outcasts, attracted by the allure of the vault, also joined the fray, adding to the chaotic clash of factions. The war was brutal and unrelenting. Each side suffered losses, each victory was hard-fought, and every setback was a painful reminder of the high stakes. The lands between Lancaster and Ephrata became a scarred battlefield, a testament to the desperation and determination of its combatants. Despite the grim circumstances, stories of heroism and resilience emerged. Johnny Vanjuk, ever the inspiring leader, led from the front, demonstrating courage that bolstered the spirit of his people. Paladin Nathaniel fought valiantly, the emblem of the Brotherhood, a beacon of hope on the battlefield. Elder Gregory and his outcasts proved formidable, their pursuit of technology never faltering even amidst the chaos. Miriam and her settlers from Lititz showed the same resolve they had demonstrated in the capital wasteland, fighting fiercely for their newfound home. Columbia, under Alderman Rourke's relentless ambition, fought with the fervor of the desperate, and the Enclave, with their superior technology and ruthless tactics, proved a formidable enemy. The war raged on, casting a long shadow over Lancaster County. But even amid the despair and destruction, the people clung to hope. Each sunrise was a new opportunity, each sunset a moment of respite and reflection. Johnny Vanjuk, even as he led his people through the darkest days, never let them forget what they were fighting for: their freedom, their home, and a chance for a better future. In the midst of the war, the tale of Lancaster became a saga of courage, determination, and survival. As each day unfolded, the people faced it with resolve, their spirits unbroken despite the ongoing conflict. They were the true embodiment of the indomitable human spirit, their story a testament to the will to survive and thrive even in the most challenging times. While the war raged in Lancaster County, developments unfolded in the neighboring regions of York and Adams counties. A group of travelers arrived from the west, emblazoned with the two-headed bear symbol of the New California Republic, or the NCR. They were seasoned survivors, veterans of the many conflicts that had plagued the western United States. The NCR, ever on the lookout for opportunities to extend their influence, quickly established their authority over York and Adams counties. The local populations, tired and weary from years of survival, saw in these newcomers a chance for stability and welcomed them. The NCR's organized government, established rules, and apparent commitment to civil order provided a sense of security that the people of York and Adams hadn't felt in a long time. News of the NCR's arrival soon reached Lancaster County. Johnny Vanjuk, in the middle of the ongoing war, took note of this new development. The NCR was a powerful force, their influence could tip the scales of any conflict, but their motivations were unclear. For the time being, the NCR seemed content to consolidate their power in York and Adams, but their presence added another layer of complexity to the already convoluted situation. The NCR kept mostly to the background during the Lancaster County War, observing the conflict from a safe distance. Their radio broadcasts, however, seeped into Lancaster County, speaking of order, security, and democracy. While some saw these messages as propaganda, others saw a glimmer of hope for a stable future. As the NCR settled into York and Adams counties and the war continued to rage in Lancaster County, the story took another unexpected turn. The people, both on the battlefield and off, continued their struggle for survival, hoping for a brighter future amid the grim reality of the present. Johnny Vanjuk, faced with a war and the emergence of a new potential ally or adversary in the form of the NCR, had more challenges ahead of him. But he, along with the people of Lancaster, was ready. They were survivors, and no matter how the story unfolded, they would face it head-on, their spirits unbroken. The tale of Lancaster County was far from over, and each new dawn brought with it another day of struggle, survival, and the relentless pursuit of a better future. As the war in Lancaster County entered a new phase, a surprise move by the Brotherhood outcasts turned the tide of the conflict. Elder Gregory, seizing an opportunity, ordered an attack on Columbia. Columbia, being the Enclave's ally and a thorn in the side of the other factions, had always been a significant target. The outcasts' attack was a meticulously planned operation. Under the cover of night, they infiltrated Columbia, catching the local militia and the Enclave forces off guard. The outcasts' knowledge of pre-war technology and their formidable combat skills proved advantageous, allowing them to sow chaos within the city. Alderman Rourke, realizing the danger, sent an urgent request for aid to the Enclave, but their response was slow due to the ongoing battles with the other factions. The outcasts capitalized on this delay, inflicting severe damage on Columbia's infrastructure and defenses. The attack on Columbia proved to be a turning point in the war. While the city was not entirely captured, the damage dealt was significant. This disruption weakened the Enclave-Columbia alliance, giving the other factions a much-needed respite and opportunity. The NCR, still largely observing from the sidelines in York and Adams counties, closely watched these developments. Their broadcasts continued to reach Lancaster County, subtly promoting their governance and the benefits it could offer. Yet, they made no move to intervene, their role remaining in the background for now. Johnny Vanjuk saw the opportunity presented by the outcasts' attack. While the Enclave and Columbia were regrouping, he began rallying the forces of Lancaster, Millersville, and Lititz for a push towards the vault in Ephrata. The race was far from over, and he was determined to ensure that the vault's contents would serve the people and not a power-hungry faction. In the war-torn lands of Lancaster County, every day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities. The unexpected twist of the Outcasts' attack and the looming presence of the NCR added new dimensions to the tale. Yet, through it all, the spirit of the people never faltered. Led by Johnny Vanjuk, they continued to fight, to strive for a better future, their story of survival continuing to unfold with every sunrise. With the Enclave and Columbia reeling from the Outcasts' assault, Johnny Vanjuk saw an opportunity that he knew they couldn't afford to pass up. Gathering his closest advisors, he issued orders for a meeting between the leaders of all their allied factions. It was time to take decisive action against the Enclave. From Lancaster, Millersville, Lititz, the Brotherhood, and even the Outcasts, representatives gathered. They convened in a secure location within Lancaster, away from prying eyes. The air was thick with anticipation and tension, yet there was an undercurrent of unity, a shared understanding that they were in this struggle together. Johnny opened the meeting, his determined gaze meeting each representative's. He laid out their strategy, a daring plan to launch a coordinated assault on the Enclave's stronghold within Columbia. The plan was ambitious and fraught with danger, but the potential rewards were immense. There were debates, disagreements, and exchanges of ideas as they fine-tuned the plan. Paladin Nathaniel, representing the Brotherhood, offered strategic insight from their past encounters with the Enclave. Elder Gregory, despite the Outcasts' usual solitary stance, pledged their cooperation, recognizing the common threat. Miriam, speaking for Lititz, emphasized the importance of protecting civilian lives during the assault. By the end of the gathering, they had a plan. It was daring and filled with risks, but it also gave them the best chance at disrupting the Enclave's power. Back in the background, the NCR continued to observe the unfolding events, their true intentions yet unknown. They made no move to intervene, but their growing presence was felt by all in Lancaster County. In the aftermath of the meeting, a newfound sense of resolve and unity spread amongst the allies. They prepared for the assault, each understanding the magnitude of what they were about to undertake. The war was reaching a critical juncture, and their actions in the coming days would shape the future of Lancaster County. Through it all, Johnny Vanjuk remained a steady presence, his leadership guiding them through their preparations. He knew the burden of command was heavy, but he also knew that they had a real chance of securing a safer future for their people. The saga of Lancaster County continued, the promise of a pivotal confrontation on the horizon. The alliances, the struggles, and the shared determination of its people were the threads weaving an enduring tale of survival and resilience in a post-apocalyptic world. The morning dawned cold and bright, the rising sun casting long shadows over the landscape of Lancaster County. It was the day of the assault, and there was an electric tension in the air. Johnny Vanjuk, surrounded by his allies and soldiers, took a final look at the plan. It was time to attack. The assault was launched on two fronts. The Brotherhood and the Outcasts, with their superior technology and power armor, initiated a frontal assault on Columbia. Their purpose was to draw the bulk of the Enclave's forces, keeping them engaged and distracted. Simultaneously, a team led by Johnny, composed of select fighters from Lancaster, Millersville, and Lititz, launched a stealthy strike towards the Enclave's stronghold. They moved through the battered streets of Columbia, slipping through the chaos created by the Brotherhood and Outcasts' attack. The battle was fierce. The Enclave, despite being caught off guard, put up a strong resistance. Their advanced pre-war technology and disciplined soldiers provided a formidable challenge. Columbia's militia, fighting for their home, joined the fray, adding to the ferocity of the conflict. Johnny and his team, relying on their intimate knowledge of the area and sheer determination, navigated through the city. They encountered pockets of Enclave resistance but fought through, inching ever closer to their target. Back in York and Adams counties, the NCR continued to watch the events unfold. Their radio broadcasts offered updates on the conflict, describing the chaos and struggle that gripped Lancaster County. Still, they did not intervene, their intentions as enigmatic as ever. Inside Columbia, the battle raged on. The streets echoed with the sounds of gunfire, the clashing of power armor, and the roar of the war. Yet, amid the chaos, the people fought on, their determination unwavering. They fought not just for victory, but for survival, for a future free from the Enclave's tyrannical grasp. As the assault continued, the story of Lancaster County took a new turn. The outcome was uncertain, but the people's spirit was unbroken. Their resilience, their unity, and their determination were their greatest weapons in the face of adversity. Led by Johnny Vanjuk, they faced the challenges head-on, their tale of survival and struggle continuing to unfold with each passing moment. As the battle raged on, the people of Columbia fought alongside the Enclave, defending their city with tenacity and desperation. But as the tide of the battle began to turn against them, the Enclave showed their true colors. In the heat of the battle, the Enclave forces began to withdraw from their positions, leaving the confused and terrified citizens of Columbia to fend for themselves. The Enclave had prioritized their own survival, showing a callous disregard for those they had claimed to protect. Johnny Vanjuk, leading his strike team closer to the heart of the city, witnessed the Enclave's abandonment. It was a moment that filled him with a grim satisfaction and renewed determination. He ordered his team to help the citizens wherever they could, even as they pressed towards the Enclave's stronghold. The abrupt withdrawal of the Enclave forces caused chaos and confusion among Columbia's defenders. Some continued to fight, driven by fear or anger, but others laid down their weapons, their spirit broken. Johnny's team, along with the Brotherhood and the Outcasts, took control of the city with less resistance than anticipated. The people of Columbia, once the Enclave's allies, were now left leaderless and vulnerable. Yet, in this moment of despair, they found an unexpected lifeline in their former enemies. Johnny Vanjuk, realizing the strategic and humanitarian importance of winning over the people of Columbia, offered them protection and aid, showing them that they were not alone. The NCR, ever watchful from York and Adams counties, broadcasted the dramatic turn of events. Their tone was neutral, their intentions still unclear. They continued to observe as Lancaster County's power dynamics shifted. With the Enclave's abandonment of Columbia, the story of Lancaster County added another chapter to its saga. Johnny Vanjuk, his allies, and the resilient people of the county continued to write their tale, fighting against the odds, seeking a better future in a world defined by hardship. The abandoned city of Columbia now stood as a symbol of the Enclave's betrayal, but also as a beacon of hope for a new beginning. The struggle was far from over, but the determination of the people was stronger than ever. With Columbia now under their control and the Enclave's influence waning, a period of relative calm descended on Lancaster County. It was a hard-earned respite, a chance to regroup and look towards the future. Johnny Vanjuk knew they had to capitalize on this moment, and he set his eyes on the enigmatic presence in the West, the New California Republic, NCR. Johnny, accompanied by a small but diverse delegation from Lancaster, Millersville, and Lititz, embarked on a journey to the NCR's stronghold in York and Adams counties. The journey was long and fraught with the usual dangers of the wasteland, but they reached the NCR base safely. The NCR was well established, their base a testament to their organizational capability and resources. The flag of the two-headed bear fluttered high above the camp, a sight that was both unfamiliar and fascinating to Johnny and his delegation. They were welcomed by NCR officials and led to a meeting with the regional governor. Johnny, as the leader of the delegation, presented their proposals. He offered to open trade routes between the NCR and Lancaster County, ensuring the flow of goods and resources beneficial to both sides. Additionally, Johnny offered the NCR a chance to establish a neutral base in Lancaster County. He believed that the NCR's presence would provide an additional layer of security against any potential resurgence of the Enclave or any other threats. The NCR governor listened attentively, asking questions and expressing interest. Yet, the NCR was known for its cautious expansion policy, so a decision would not be immediate. News of Johnny's diplomatic mission reached the people back in Lancaster County, adding a new wave of anticipation and hope. The idea of a potential alliance with the powerful NCR was a glimmer of optimism in a world often defined by conflict and hardship. The saga of Lancaster County continued to unfold. From the struggle against the Enclave to the diplomatic overtures towards the NCR, the people of the county continued to strive for a better future. Under Johnny Vanjuk's leadership, they faced each new day with unwavering resilience, writing a unique story of survival in the post-apocalyptic world. The New California Republic, after careful consideration, finally responded to Johnny Vanjak's proposals. They agreed to the establishment of trade routes and the creation of a neutral base within Lancaster County. The acceptance of these terms marked a significant step towards an alliance, a sign of progress that Johnny and his delegation had hoped for. But the NCR had another proposal. They extended an invitation for Lancaster County to become a part of the NCR, to join their union of territories and benefit from the safety and resources it could provide. It was a tempting proposition, one that promised a level of stability and security that was hard to achieve in the post-apocalyptic world. Word of the NCR's offer reached Lancaster County before Johnny and his delegation returned. There was a mixed reaction among the people. Some saw it as a golden opportunity, a way to live under the protection of a powerful and organized government. Others, however, were skeptical, afraid of losing their autonomy and the unique identity they had carved out in the ruins of the old world. Upon their return, Johnny convened a meeting with the leaders of Lancaster, Millersville, and Lititz, as well as representatives from the Brotherhood, Outcasts, and the newly integrated Columbia. They debated the NCR's offer, weighing the pros and cons, the potential gains, and the potential losses. In the end, they decided to maintain their neutrality. The people of Lancaster County were adamant about preserving their independence, not wishing to become part of a larger governmental entity. They had fought hard for their autonomy, building a society from the ashes, and were not ready to give it up. However, they were equally determined to cement the alliance with the NCR. They communicated their decision to the NCR, emphasizing their commitment to mutual cooperation and friendship. They were hopeful that the NCR, given their reputation for respecting the autonomy of their allies, would understand and accept their stance. Thus, the tale of Lancaster County took another significant turn. From the ashes of war, they were forging alliances and looking towards a future of cooperation and mutual respect. They remained a beacon of resilience and determination, a testament to human spirit in a world ravaged by nuclear catastrophe. As they navigated these new political landscapes, the people of Lancaster County continued to write their own unique story of survival and growth. News of Lancaster County's decision reached the NCR, who accepted their stance with understanding. The Republic had always strived to uphold its principles of democracy and respect for individual freedom. Therefore, they honored Lancaster County's wish to remain independent but committed to strengthening their alliance. Work began on the establishment of trade routes and the NCR's neutral base within Lancaster County. NCR engineers and traders arrived, bringing with them a flurry of activity and a sense of optimism. The base started taking shape in the outskirts of Lancaster City, strategically placed to aid in defense but not intrude upon the city's daily life. The trade routes brought a boom to the local economy. New goods and materials started flowing into the county, including pre-war books, technology, and seeds of plants not seen in Lancaster for decades. The people embraced these changes, seeing them as signs of progress and prosperity. Meanwhile, Johnny Vanjak found himself in a new role as a diplomatic liaison between the NCR and Lancaster County. He worked tirelessly, coordinating efforts to integrate the NCR base with the local landscape and mediating any disputes that arose. Despite the challenges, Johnny was satisfied with the way things were progressing. However, the post-apocalyptic world was ever-changing and unpredictable. Rumors began to spread about a new threat emerging from the ruins of Philadelphia, stirring unrest among the people. The Brotherhood of Steel caught wind of these rumors and sent scouts to investigate. These were not just tales of raiders or mutated creatures, but stories of an organized group calling themselves the Union. Little was known about their intentions or capabilities, but their sudden appearance was enough to cause concern. As news of this new potential threat reached Lancaster County, the people found themselves facing uncertainty once again. Yet, they were not the same people who had first emerged from the fallout. They had faced adversity and had come out stronger. They had alliances and systems in place. They had leaders like Johnny Vanjak who had guided them through the hardest of times. As the tale of Lancaster County continued to unfold, they readied themselves to face whatever lay ahead. With their newfound allies and their unyielding spirit, they were prepared to write the next chapter of their story, to fight for their survival and their future, no matter the odds. As the city of Lancaster worked towards strengthening its alliance with the new California Republic and safeguarding its newfound prosperity, the arrival of another powerful faction from the west changed the dynamics once more. The Brotherhood of Steel's West Coast chapter had arrived in Pennsylvania, and they had chosen Chester County as their stronghold. The West Coast Brotherhood was known for their rigid adherence to their codex, a stark contrast to the more progressive and cooperative East Coast chapter that had been a part of Lancaster's struggle. Their arrival brought back old memories of the NCR Brotherhood War back in the Mojave Wasteland, a conflict that had left deep scars and unresolved tensions. The news of the West Coast Brotherhood's arrival was received with mixed feelings in Lancaster. Some were excited, hopeful that another powerful ally could be beneficial for their security and progress. Others, however, were wary, knowing the history of the West Coast Brotherhood's aggressive technology hoarding and their previous conflict with the NCR. Johnny Vanjik found himself in a delicate position. With the NCR already building a base in Lancaster County, he understood that accommodating the West Coast Brotherhood could potentially strain the county's relationship with the NCR. However, ignoring the West Coast Brotherhood wasn't a viable option either, given their formidable power and influence. Meanwhile, the Brotherhood's East Coast chapter stationed in Millersville was also in a tricky situation. Their philosophy had diverged significantly from their West Coast counterparts, and their cooperative attitude had earned them a position of respect within Lancaster County. However, they now found themselves having to navigate old loyalties and new alliances. As the West Coast Brotherhood began fortifying their position in Chester County, scouting parties were spotted on the outskirts of Lancaster. Johnny, not one to shy away from a challenge, decided to confront the issue head-on. He, along with a small delegation from Lancaster and Millersville, decided to visit Chester County to negotiate with the West Coast Brotherhood. They wanted to understand the Brotherhood's intentions and, if possible, establish a peaceful coexistence. This new development was another test for Johnny Vanjik and the people of Lancaster County. As they prepared to face it, their tale of survival and diplomacy in the post-apocalyptic world continued to unfold. The West Coast Brotherhood requested a meeting, an opportunity for dialogue that Johnny Vanjik readily accepted. Representatives from the West Coast Brotherhood, Lancaster, the East Coast Brotherhood, and the Outcasts convened at a neutral location, a preserved library in the heart of Lancaster City. The West Coast Brotherhood was represented by a veteran paladin, a woman known as Isolde, who carried herself with the uncompromising gravitas of someone who had seen the world before the bombs fell. She took the floor and laid out the West Coast Brotherhood's situation. Isolde revealed that the West Coast Brotherhood had been overpowered by the NCR in their own territory and had been gradually pushed out. Their arrival in Pennsylvania was a search for refuge and an attempt to rebuild their strength, far away from their former foes. Their request was simple: they wanted to be left alone. Chester County was now their home, and they wished for no interference or intrusion. It was a hardline stance that resonated with their reputation, but what came next was a surprise. In an unexpected move of diplomacy, Isolde offered to join the existing trade routes. She proposed that the West Coast Brotherhood would provide technological expertise and protection along the Chester County trade routes, in exchange for goods and resources. It was a significant concession, a sign that the West Coast Brotherhood recognized the changing dynamics of the post-apocalyptic world. Johnny Vanjik and the other leaders were taken aback by this unexpected proposal. They retreated into a heated debate, trying to find a way to accommodate this new situation without escalating any potential conflict. In the end, it was agreed that the West Coast Brotherhood's wishes would be respected, and Chester County would be left to their control. The offer to join the trade routes was accepted, marking a new era of fragile but hopeful cooperation. As the meeting concluded and each party returned to their respective territories, the people of Lancaster County breathed a sigh of relief. Their leader, Johnny Vanjik, had once again navigated the treacherous waters of wasteland diplomacy, securing a tenuous peace in a time of uncertainty. But the saga of Lancaster County was far from over. With the emergence of the mysterious Union in Philadelphia, the post-apocalyptic world remained as unpredictable as ever. Yet, under the steady leadership of Johnny Vanjik and the indomitable spirit of its people, Lancaster County stood ready to face whatever came next. Their story, a testament to resilience and determination, continued to unfold in the ashes of the old world. The relative peace of the region was disrupted yet again, this time by the raider tribes from the industrial wasteland known as the Pit. The Pit, once the city of Pittsburgh, was known across the wasteland for its brutal raiders and their ruthless leader, Ashur. They had transformed the steel yards of Pittsburgh into a slave-driven factory, producing weapons and ammunition which they used to expand their influence. A group of pit raiders were sighted on the outskirts of Lancaster County, unmistakable with their rust-colored armors and menacing weapons. They didn't launch an attack, but their presence alone was a signal of intent. Word spread quickly about the new potential threat, sowing seeds of fear and unease among the people of Lancaster County. Johnny Vanjuk, ever vigilant, called an immediate meeting of all the settlement leaders, representatives of the Brotherhood factions, the Outcasts, and the NCR. They had to understand the threat and develop a strategy to handle the situation. As they gathered around a worn-out map of Pennsylvania, they discussed the Pit's history, their modus operandi, and what their appearance could mean for Lancaster County. They were far from their base, which suggested either expansion or desperation, neither of which bode well. A decision was made to send scouts to the Pit, to gather more information. A few brave volunteers from the Brotherhood and the Outcasts took up the task, venturing into the dangerous territory. Meanwhile, the defenses of Lancaster County were reinforced, preparing for a potential conflict. Amid these preparations, Johnny Vanjuk knew he had a significant role to play. As the one who had united the settlements and the factions, he felt the responsibility to protect Lancaster County from this new threat. He spent days and nights working on strategies, securing supply lines, and ensuring the readiness of their defenses. The appearance of the Pit Raiders was another challenge thrown at Lancaster County, another test of their resilience. They had faced and overcome many trials before, and they were prepared to do it again. Johnny Vanjuk, at the heart of it all, stood as a beacon of strength and determination. As the leader of this diverse group of survivors, he was the glue that held them together, the force that kept them moving forward. As they waited for the scouts to return from the Pit, the tale of Lancaster County continued, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity in a world forever changed by nuclear devastation. The tale was far from over, and the people of Lancaster County, under the leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, stood ready to face whatever the future held for them. The scouts returned with troubling news. The Pit had grown stronger and more organized under Ashur's leadership, and their factories were churning out weapons at an alarming rate. But the most shocking revelation was their target. They were planning an attack on the West Coast Brotherhood's stronghold in Chester County. The Pit's objective was to seize the West Coast Brotherhood's advanced weaponry and technology. Their slave-driven factories gave them a significant advantage in terms of raw materials and ammunition, but they lacked the technological edge. Capturing the Brotherhood's stronghold would provide them with the resources they desired. Johnny Vanjuk and the rest of Lancaster County's leaders were faced with a dilemma. Allowing the Pit to take over Chester County would have grave consequences for the whole region. However, defending the West Coast Brotherhood could potentially pull them into a war they were unprepared for. After much deliberation, Johnny decided to warn the West Coast Brotherhood of the impending attack. Regardless of their differences, the West Coast Brotherhood were a part of Lancaster County, and it was essential to show unity in the face of a common enemy. A messenger was sent to Chester County with the information. The West Coast Brotherhood, despite their isolationist stance, appreciated the warning and prepared to defend their stronghold. They bolstered their defenses and called upon their most skilled warriors. The day of the attack came, and the first assault was brutal. The Pit Raiders, armed with their industrial-grade weapons, descended upon the Chester County base with relentless ferocity. However, they had underestimated the Brotherhood's superior technology and battle tactics. Despite the odds, the West Coast Brotherhood held their ground. The battle raged on for hours, but in the end, the Pit Raiders were forced to retreat, suffering heavy casualties. News of the Brotherhood's victory spread through Lancaster County, lifting the spirits of the people. They had faced a significant threat, and with unity and cooperation, they had overcome it. It wasn't without costs, but it was a win nonetheless. The tale of Lancaster County added another chapter, a story of victory against a formidable adversary. It highlighted the importance of unity, showing that despite their differences, the settlements and factions could come together to defend their land. Under the leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, Lancaster County had once again proven its resilience and determination. Their saga continued to unfold, a beacon of hope in the bleak post-apocalyptic world. As Lancaster County celebrated their victory against the Pit Raiders in Chester County, a troubling report came in. A separate detachment of raiders had bypassed Chester County during the initial conflict and was heading straight towards Lancaster City. It was a tactical diversion and an astute one, exploiting the attention diverted towards Chester County. The city's defenses had been strengthened in preparation for potential threats, but the suddenness of the impending attack had everyone on edge. Johnny Vanjuk, ever the unyielding leader, sprang into action, rallying the city's defenses and preparing everyone for the assault. The raiders attacked as the sun was setting, the horizon a fiery canvas of oranges and purples. They came with their makeshift weapons, seeking to exploit any weaknesses, to pillage and plunder. But Lancaster was ready. The city's defenses, reinforced by the East Coast Brotherhood, the Outcasts, and even a few volunteers from the West Coast Brotherhood, held the line. The rooftops became archer nests, and the streets turned into choke points. Every alley, every corner, every rooftop, was a potential ambush. The battle was fierce and grueling, stretching into the night. The raiders fought with savage intensity, but the defenders of Lancaster City fought back just as hard. Their home was under threat, and they were determined to protect it at all costs. Johnny Vanjuk, leading from the front, was a force to be reckoned with. Armed with his trusty plasma rifle, he cut down raiders left and right, all the while rallying the defenders, his voice a beacon of hope amid the chaos. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky with the first light of day, the raiders finally began to retreat. Exhausted and battered, Lancaster City had held the line. They had defended their home. In the aftermath, the city took stock of the damage and began repairs. The attack had left scars, but it had also brought the people closer. They had faced a dire threat, and they had emerged victorious. Their tale of survival in the post-apocalyptic world was a testament to their resilience and unity. They had faced formidable enemies, and they had prevailed. Their story was far from over, but one thing was certain: under the leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, Lancaster City would always stand tall. The saga of their struggle and triumph continued to unfold in the rugged landscape of the post-nuclear world. In the wake of the raider attack on Lancaster City, the city's leaders gathered for a serious discussion. The victory was a relief, but it also revealed a harsh reality: the growing strength and audacity of raider factions like the Pit could not be ignored. Johnny Vanjuk, along with the representatives from the Brotherhood factions, the Outcasts, the NCR, and the various settlements, began mapping out a new strategy. It was clear that they needed a proactive approach to ensure the safety of Lancaster County and its people. Their plan was twofold. The first part was to strengthen the defenses of Lancaster City and the other settlements, by building fortifications and training more citizens in combat. Volunteers from the Brotherhood factions and the NCR offered their expertise in this. The second part of the plan was more daring. They would send a group of skilled fighters, led by Johnny Vanjuk, to dismantle the raider factions directly. By taking out their leaders and disrupting their operations, they hoped to reduce the immediate threat the raiders posed to Lancaster County. Once the plan was set in motion, things moved swiftly. Fortifications went up around Lancaster City and the other settlements, and training regiments began. Johnny assembled a team of fighters from among the Brotherhood, the Outcasts, and the local settlers. They began preparing for their mission, arming themselves with the best weapons and armor available. Meanwhile, the rest of Lancaster County held its breath. This was a bold move, and the stakes were high. Everyone understood the risk involved, but they also knew that it was a necessary risk. They had to protect their home, their community, and their way of life. The saga of Lancaster County was taking a crucial turn. Under the leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, they were taking the fight to their enemies, determined to safeguard their future in the harsh, post-apocalyptic world. Their tale of resilience, unity, and courage was set to continue, adding another thrilling chapter to their story. Even as the settlements and factions in Lancaster County were busy preparing for their mission against the raiders, news came in from the southeast. The Enclave, once believed to have been defeated and driven out of the region, had resurfaced. They had taken over the entire state of Maryland, establishing a new base of operations. The Enclave, composed of the remnants of the United States government and military, had always been a force to be reckoned with. Their possession of advanced pre-war technology and weaponry made them a formidable adversary. But their takeover of Maryland was surprising and alarming. It meant that they had regrouped and regained their strength. Johnny Vandyck and the leaders of Lancaster County had a new concern. The Enclave's ambitions had always extended far beyond merely survival. They envisioned a new world order, with themselves at the helm. Their proximity posed a direct threat to Lancaster County, and they couldn't afford to ignore it. The plan to dismantle the Raider factions was already underway, and it was too late to change it. But they had to develop a new strategy to handle the Enclave as well. They couldn't wage war on two fronts, but they couldn't sit idly either. The decision was made to send a reconnaissance team to Maryland, to assess the situation. They needed to gather as much information as possible about the Enclave's operations, their strength, and their intentions. Armed with this information, they could plan their next move. The tension in Lancaster County was palpable. They had to contend with the Pit Raiders, and now the Enclave was back on the scene. The stakes were higher than ever, and the challenges seemed insurmountable. But they were far from beaten. The tale of Lancaster County was one of resilience and courage, of standing tall against the odds. They had come a long way, and they weren't about to give up now. Under the leadership of Johnny Vandyck, they prepared to face their enemies head-on. The saga of Lancaster County was set to add another thrilling chapter, as they navigated the treacherous terrain of a post-apocalyptic world, fighting for their survival and their future. Despite the dangers, Johnny Vandyck decided to approach the Enclave. It was a risky move, but Johnny believed in the power of diplomacy and hoped that a direct dialogue could prevent an unnecessary conflict. He put together a delegation composed of representatives from the East Coast Brotherhood, the Outcasts, the NCR, and the West Coast Brotherhood. They were to serve as a testament to the unity in Lancaster County, a coalition prepared to negotiate, yet equally prepared for defense. Their journey to Maryland was perilous, fraught with mutated creatures, treacherous terrain, and the ever-present threat of unexpected Raider attacks. But the delegation moved with a determined purpose, under the protective watch of a select few of Lancaster's finest warriors. Upon reaching the Enclave's stronghold, they were met with suspicion but were granted an audience due to the clear importance of their delegation. The Enclave leaders, donned in their signature power armor, eyed the delegation with interest. It was an unusual sight to see these typically conflicting factions standing united. Johnny Vandyck stepped forward, his demeanor resolute, his voice steady. He acknowledged the Enclave's power and their claim over Maryland but made it clear that Lancaster County was united and would fight to protect its autonomy. Johnny proposed a treaty, a promise of non-aggression and respect for each territory's sovereignty. In return, Lancaster County would agree to recognize the Enclave's rule over Maryland. The Enclave leaders were intrigued and even somewhat impressed by the audacity of the proposal. A pact with Lancaster County could offer them a stable border and potential access to trade resources, and even potential allies if needed. After a lengthy discussion, they agreed to the terms. Returning to Lancaster County, Johnny and the delegation were met with a mix of relief and skepticism. Many doubted the Enclave's commitment to the treaty, but for now, a possible war was averted. The saga of Lancaster County had taken a significant turn. Diplomacy had won the day, and the immediate threat of war had been staved off. However, the Enclave was a wild card, and only time would reveal their true intentions. Amidst these looming uncertainties, one thing remained constant: the people of Lancaster County were prepared to face whatever the future held for them, united under the leadership of Johnny Vandyck. Their tale of resilience and survival in a harsh, post-apocalyptic world continued to unfold, adding another fascinating chapter to their story. Days turned into weeks, then into months. The fragile peace that had been established with the Enclave held, albeit uneasily. Lancaster City and the settlements in the county flourished, their residents adjusting to the relative tranquility. Trade routes expanded, defenses strengthened, and the people of Lancaster County continued their hard work to ensure their home remained a beacon of hope amidst the wasteland. But the world outside Lancaster County was not as serene. Reports came in of skirmishes between the Enclave and Raider factions in Maryland, indicating that the Enclave's hold on the state was not as firm as it seemed. To the north, the Brotherhood outcasts were dealing with an internal rebellion, splitting their attention between maintaining their defenses and quelling the dissent. In Lancaster City, Johnny Vanjuk and his Council of Representatives kept a close watch on these developments. They understood that the peace was tenuous and could shatter at any moment. They were ready to defend their home, but they also knew that the key to their survival was to stay ahead of the game. Thus, they decided to send out scouts to gather information. Armed with stealth buoys and radios, these scouts were tasked with observing the activities of the surrounding factions and reporting any signs of potential threats. They needed to know if the Enclave was planning an attack, if the Brotherhood outcasts could maintain control over their faction, and if the Raider factions in Maryland were a growing concern. While they kept an eye on the outside world, life within Lancaster County carried on. Farmers cultivated their crops, scavengers brought back precious resources from the wasteland, and traders bartered goods from settlement to settlement. Children played in the safer areas of the city, their laughter echoing through the streets, a sound of hope in a world that often seemed devoid of it. Johnny Vanjuk, despite the burdens of leadership, couldn't help but marvel at the resilience of his people. Their ability to find joy, to keep going, despite the odds, was inspiring. It strengthened his resolve to protect Lancaster County and its people, to fight for their right to a peaceful life. The saga of Lancaster County, of its struggles and triumphs in a post-apocalyptic world, was a tale of human resilience. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity, to their ability to adapt and survive, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. Their tale continued, each day a new chapter in their remarkable story. The months stretched on, the tension waxing and waning with every new piece of information from the scouts. The Enclave remained focused on maintaining their grip over Maryland, dealing with the Raider factions with an iron fist. The Brotherhood outcasts managed to quell their internal rebellion, but the dissent had taken a toll on their resources and morale. In the midst of these developments, another piece of news rocked Lancaster County. A caravan from the capital wasteland arrived, bearing news of a power shift. The super mutants, once a scattered and disjointed threat, had organized under a single, powerful leader. They had taken over large parts of the capital wasteland, overpowering the local settlements and turning the region into a war zone. This news was alarming. If the super mutants decided to expand their territory, Lancaster County could be in their path. Johnny Vanjuk convened an emergency meeting of the council. They couldn't afford to ignore this new threat. They decided to strengthen their defenses and train more settlers for combat. Volunteers from the Brotherhood factions and the NCR stepped up, sharing their knowledge and skills with the locals. Meanwhile, life in Lancaster County carried on. The news of the super mutants' rise was a cause for concern, but it also galvanized the people. They worked harder, pulling together to strengthen their home against the potential threat. Farmers fortified their fields, scavengers focused on finding more weapons and ammunition, and traders sought out alliances with far-off settlements for additional support. Children, too young to fully understand the gravity of the situation, carried messages and helped where they could, their youthful energy a much-needed source of positivity. The days were long and hard, but under the steady leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, Lancaster County remained a beacon of hope amidst the wasteland. The people carried on, their spirit unbowed by the potential threats looming on the horizon. Their story, a tale of courage and resilience in the face of adversity, continued to unfold. Each day brought new challenges, but it also brought new triumphs. Their determination to protect their home, to survive and thrive in a post-apocalyptic world, added another chapter to the remarkable saga of Lancaster County. Over the next few months, Lancaster County transformed. The once relatively peaceful settlements now bristled with new fortifications and defenses. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and dirt, and the sound of hammers and drills echoed throughout the day. Traders worked relentlessly, bringing in crucial supplies, ammunition, and armors from distant lands. The locals, farmers, scavengers, and even the children put in an exceptional effort to aid the cause. Their collective spirit in the face of adversity was palpable. Johnny Vanjuk, at the helm of this transformation, was no longer the wanderer who had once chanced upon Lancaster City. He was now its beacon, guiding its people through the labyrinth of challenges the post-apocalyptic world threw at them. Despite the pressures of leadership, he remained a steadfast figure, his resolve unwavering. Even amidst the escalating tensions, there were moments of respite, moments that reminded them of their shared humanity. The community gathered around crackling fires at the end of arduous days, sharing stories of the world that once was and dreams of the world they hoped to build. These moments, though brief, provided much-needed relief, strengthening their resolve and fueling their spirit. The Brotherhood factions and the NCR, despite their past differences and current engagements, were increasingly invested in Lancaster County. Their soldiers trained the locals, turning farmers and traders into fighters ready to protect their home. These training sessions were grueling, but the volunteers faced them with a determination that was nothing short of inspiring. But the world outside Lancaster County was not as harmonious. The Enclave's struggles with the raiders in Maryland continued, their battles increasingly destructive. The Brotherhood outcasts, though having subdued their internal rebellion, had to keep a watchful eye on the restive elements within their ranks. The super mutants in the capital wasteland, under their powerful leader, expanded their territory, their threat looming ever larger. Reports from the scouts kept everyone on edge. The super mutants' growth was particularly alarming. Johnny knew they had to be prepared for any possibility. He initiated drills, simulating potential attacks, ensuring that the defenses were foolproof and the people knew what to do in case of an assault. Lancaster County was a hive of activity, a fortress preparing for battle. Their story was now a tale of preparedness and unity, a testament to their resolve to protect their home. Their journey, their efforts, and their spirit added another layer to their growing saga, a narrative that was as complex as the world they navigated. Each day, they wrote a new chapter, their actions weaving a tapestry of resilience and determination in a world defined by uncertainty and conflict. As the threat of the super mutants continued to loom, Johnny Vanjik and the leaders of Lancaster County, along with their allies, realized that a united front was necessary to effectively combat this escalating menace. With the Enclave holding a position of power in Maryland and the Brotherhood factions and the NCR as steadfast allies, they saw an opportunity for a joint offensive against the super mutants. A formal request for an audience was sent to the Enclave leadership, outlining the dire situation and proposing a cooperative strategy to eliminate the super mutant threat. The proposal highlighted the collective strength and resources of Lancaster County and their allies, underscoring the potential for a decisive victory against the common enemy if they worked together. After a tense waiting period, a response arrived from the Enclave. They agreed to the meeting, recognizing the gravity of the super mutant threat and the advantages of a coordinated assault. The meeting was scheduled to take place at a neutral location, a fortified outpost situated between Lancaster County and the Enclave's Maryland stronghold. Representatives from Lancaster County, the Brotherhood factions, the NCR, and the Enclave gathered in a makeshift council room. The tension was palpable, but a shared understanding of the threat they faced fostered a sense of reluctant camaraderie. Discussions were intense as they mapped out the details of their joint offensive. Strategies were formulated, intelligence shared, and plans solidified. It was a delicate dance of cooperation and compromise, as each faction had its own priorities and methods. In the end, a consensus was reached. The joint force would comprise skilled warriors from each faction, along with the Enclave's advanced technology and weaponry. They would coordinate their efforts, hitting the super mutants from multiple fronts, aiming to cripple their leadership and dismantle their operations. Preparations for the assault began in earnest. Weapons were repaired and reinforced, ammunition stockpiles were replenished, and units were trained in joint combat tactics. The people of Lancaster County worked tirelessly, readying themselves for the impending battle that would determine the fate of their region. The time came for the joint offensive to commence. The coalition of Lancaster County, the Brotherhood factions, the NCR, and the Enclave marched towards the super mutant-infested territories, their resolve unwavering. The battle was fierce and unforgiving. The combined strength of the united factions dealt heavy blows to the super mutants, gradually driving them back. The superior technology and combat prowess of the Enclave, paired with the resilience and strategic expertise of Lancaster County and its allies, proved to be a formidable force against the super mutant horde. Days turned into weeks, and the tide of battle slowly shifted. The super mutants, overwhelmed by the relentless onslaught, began to crumble. Their leader, a towering figure of strength, fell under the combined might of the united forces. Victory was hard-won, but it belonged to Lancaster County and its allies. The super mutant threat in the capital wasteland had been decisively dealt with, thanks to their united front. The people of Lancaster County rejoiced, their spirits lifted by this triumph over adversity. As they returned to their respective territories, the sense of unity among the factions lingered. The joint offensive had solidified their bonds and laid the groundwork for future cooperation. They understood that a united front was their greatest strength in a world teeming with danger. The tale of Lancaster County continued to unfold, now bearing the mark of a collective triumph. Their struggle against the super mutants had left an indelible mark on their story, reinforcing their resilience and determination to build a better future. Their journey in the post-apocalyptic world had taken a significant turn, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand with their newfound allies. The defeat of the super mutants marked a turning point for Lancaster County and its allies. The joint offensive had solidified their bond and paved the way for continued cooperation in the face of future threats. The region experienced a newfound sense of security and stability, allowing its settlements to flourish. Under the leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, Lancaster County prospered. The once war-torn landscapes transformed into thriving communities. The efforts of the settlers, the Brotherhood factions, the NCR, and the Enclave's advanced technology propelled them forward, bringing advancements in agriculture, infrastructure, and healthcare. The trade routes expanded, connecting Lancaster County to distant regions and fostering economic growth. The people of Lancaster County celebrated their hard-earned victory. Festivals and gatherings became more frequent, serving as reminders of the resilient spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times. The scars of their struggles remained, but they were now seen as badges of honor, a testament to their unwavering determination. With peace and stability firmly established, Lancaster County became a beacon of hope in the wasteland. Word spread of the region's success, attracting wanderers seeking refuge and a chance at a better life. These newcomers added diversity to the population, contributing their skills and knowledge to the ongoing development of the region. Over the years, Lancaster County thrived as a neutral but influential force in the wasteland. It maintained strong diplomatic ties with neighboring factions, ensuring peaceful coexistence and cooperation. The region's emphasis on trade and collaboration created a network of interconnected settlements, fostering unity and prosperity. As time passed, the story of Lancaster County became a legend whispered across the wasteland. Songs were sung of its resilient people, the leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, and the bonds forged between former enemies. The tale of their struggles, triumphs, and unity served as a reminder to others that even in the harshest of times, humanity could rise above division and forge a brighter future. And so, the saga of Lancaster County reached its conclusion, but its impact lingered in the hearts and minds of those who heard its tale. It was a story of resilience, cooperation, and the indomitable spirit of humanity in a world forever changed by destruction. In the remnants of the old world, amidst the remnants of shattered cities and broken dreams, Lancaster County stood as a testament to what could be achieved when people chose unity over conflict, hope over despair, and perseverance over adversity. Epilogue. Years passed since the tale of Lancaster County's triumph over adversity. The region continued to prosper, expanding its influence and becoming a bastion of stability in the post-apocalyptic world. Its success inspired neighboring settlements and factions to seek alliances and cooperation, fostering a sense of unity across the wasteland. Under the wise and compassionate leadership of Johnny Vanjuk, Lancaster County flourished. Its settlements grew into bustling towns, filled with artisans, farmers, and innovators. The people had access to education and healthcare, and a spirit of communal harmony pervaded the region. The Enclave, having witnessed the strength and resilience of Lancaster County, shifted its approach. Recognizing the importance of cooperation, they became staunch allies, providing advanced technology and scientific expertise to aid in the region's development. Together, they worked on initiatives to restore clean water sources, rebuild infrastructure, and promote sustainable farming practices. The Brotherhood factions and the NCR found common ground within Lancaster County, forging lasting partnerships and sharing their knowledge. They established training academies, where the settlers learned the art of combat, merging the ideologies of the different factions to create a harmonious blend of discipline and resilience. Over time, Lancaster County became a beacon of progress in the wasteland, with its towns serving as cultural and intellectual hubs. Art, literature, and music flourished, as the settlers embraced creativity as a means of healing and expression. The echoes of their resilience and unity reverberated across the region, inspiring hope in even the most desolate corners of the post-apocalyptic world. The tale of Lancaster County became legend, passed down through generations. Bards and storytellers recounted the exploits of Johnny Vanjuk, the unifier of factions, and the indomitable spirit of the settlers. Their story reminded the people that even in the face of unimaginable challenges, unity and cooperation could prevail. As the years turned into decades, Lancaster County's legacy endured. It became a symbol of what humanity was capable of when they set aside their differences and worked together towards a common goal. The region became a safe haven for weary travelers seeking refuge, a place where hope and opportunity awaited those willing to contribute to its flourishing society. And so, the saga of Lancaster County came to a close, but its impact on the wasteland was everlasting. The story served as a reminder to all survivors that they possessed the strength to rebuild, the capacity to forge new alliances, and the resilience to overcome any obstacle. The legacy of Lancaster County, a testament to the triumph of unity and cooperation, would forever inspire the generations to come. In the 1,000 years that followed the tale of Lancaster County, the world had changed. The scars of the post-apocalyptic wasteland had gradually faded, replaced by a thriving and harmonious society. Lancaster County had evolved into a beacon of prosperity and unity, where people from all walks of life lived together in harmony. The settlements that once stood as separate entities had merged into a single, sprawling metropolis known as New Lancaster. Skyscrapers rose high, shimmering in the sunlight, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Gardens and green spaces adorned the city, creating a vibrant and sustainable urban environment. Technology had advanced to astonishing heights, with renewable energy sources providing clean power to the city. The air was pure, and the rivers flowed crystal clear, thanks to advanced filtration systems developed by the brightest minds of New Lancaster. In this future, the divisions that once plagued the wasteland were but distant memories. The descendants of the Brotherhood factions, the NCR, the Enclave, and the settlers of Lancaster County lived side by side, their cooperation and shared history serving as the foundation of their society. New Lancaster was a hub of knowledge and innovation. Scholars and scientists delved into the mysteries of the pre-war world, uncovering secrets long forgotten. They utilized advanced technology to build sustainable infrastructure, to explore the far reaches of the wasteland, and to develop new methods of healing and rejuvenation. The arts and culture thrived in New Lancaster. The streets were alive with music, dance, and laughter. The inhabitants celebrated their shared heritage, embracing the diverse tapestry of cultures that had emerged from the ashes of the past. Art galleries, theaters, and libraries stood as testaments to the human spirit, showcasing the creativity and intellectual prowess of the city's inhabitants. The people of New Lancaster lived in harmony with the natural world, recognizing the importance of preserving and nurturing the environment. Green spaces and gardens were carefully cultivated, providing fresh produce for the city's inhabitants. They understood that their survival and well-being were intertwined with the health of the planet. Education was highly valued, with schools and universities providing knowledge and skills to the next generation. The leaders of New Lancaster worked tirelessly to ensure that every individual had access to quality education, empowering them to contribute to the collective well-being of their society. In this future world, peace reigned supreme. Conflicts were resolved through dialogue and understanding, with diplomacy and empathy serving as guiding principles. New Lancaster had become a model of cooperation and unity, an example for the rest of the world to follow. And so, the story of Lancaster County had come full circle. From the struggles and hardships of the post-apocalyptic wasteland, the people had risen above, forging a future of hope, prosperity, and happiness. The tale of their journey was celebrated as a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a reminder that even in the face of the most daunting challenges, unity and cooperation could lead to a brighter and better world.